I stepped off too quickly. It's a joy to introduce Richard Hudson, a long-term friend and fellow who is a US citizen who has on his entrepreneurial agenda to also make a change in Europe, and he has been helping to facilitate a lot of conferences, workshops, and other type of activities to get innovation player in Europe, in politics, in the private sector together.
Thank you very much, Alex. Well, welcome all. Could we have the board members up now? Again, my name is Richard Hudson. I'm with a company called Science Business. I'm a journalist and an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, I know how much work, hard work, is involved in building an enterprise. And I've seen the EIT develop from the first idea in 2006 into this great tree that it is at the moment. And the people involved in this, from the commissioner to the commission, to the governing board, to the EIT staff, to the KICs, to the partners in the KICs. This is an enterprise of thousands of people and work. So this is a moment actually just to realize what has been accomplished so far and what is to be accomplished next. I'm delighted to be joined here by two members of the governing board, Peter Olesen and Daria Tataj. We're now getting to the crux of the matter, the calls for the new KICs. And we thought we'd have a little discussion first as to what are we talking about when we're talking about a KIC? What makes a successful KIC? What is it supposed to do? Just some reflections from the governing board. And the governing board, remember, is the one that decides in the end who are the winning applicants for the KIC. So, interesting questions to consider. But before we begin, can I just ask, let me ask about you. How many, just show your hands, how many here are thinking about possibly forming a KIC? Just raise your hand. Quite a few. Quite a few. Okay. How of those, how many have already decided, yes, we're doing it? Oh, wow. Okay. This is already a converted group. All right. So I think the questions in the course of the day are going to be very pointed. All right. So, but let's begin ourselves. Peter, the first question I've got is this term, knowledge and innovation community. What is a KIC?
I think we should see KICs in three dimensions. One is the conceptual dimension, the other one is the operational dimension, and then maybe the most one is the interconnectivity dimension, because basically KICs are strong partnerships formed across the so-called knowledge triangle, which we've been discussing before. That means partners coming from these areas that are committed to work together, and also that the partnership that is created is working from a business logic, first of all, but that is also created bottom-up among those across the knowledge triangle that are willing, are committed to do that in a way to deliver the impact, both in technical terms and in societal terms, etc., etc. So that's the concept as such. The operational dimension is centered around the structure called collocation centers. And collocation centers are really the operational arms of the KICs, because they sort of facilitate the knowledge flow between partners, and also the flow into a physical center where you create a hub, where the diverse partners, diverse teams, they sort of work together. And in that hub, in the co-location center of the hub, you have the sort of machinery, the innovation factory taking place, the incubation of business ideas, the help by complementary knowledge to drive that further through.
So Peter, these they're places then, the co-location center?
A co-location center is a physical place.
It is?
Yeah, of course with a certain coverage. Yeah. But the key here is the interconnectivity of that structure. Because imagine a spider's web. Collocation Center is a number of strong partners working together. In a spider's web, you have many, many connecting lines in different dimensions. And that means you put then the Collocation Center webs together. You have a three-dimensional web of webs. That's really the interconnectivity of the KIC.
Okay, all right. So KIC is a partnership with impact, committed partners, collocation centers, certain concepts here. But what exactly does it do, a KIC? Daria.
Richard, thank you. If I may, first of all, say that I'm so very much impressed with the number of people who raised their hands in the second question especially. So there are some to be still convinced, but there are some who came here to understand what is the model that has become appreciated over the last 5 years. And I believe that what Madam Commissioner said, that the EIT is not yet another funding scheme, is fundamental to understand what a KIC is. Because EIT is not a grant giver. It's more than that. Madam Commissioner used a word that sounds radical in European policy arena, that is investment. And indeed, the EIT wants to think of itself as an investor rather than a redistributor of taxpayers' money. And I'm stressing this being part of the founding board and being actually the only person serving on the executive committee from the beginning. I, in a way, witnessed and participated the discussions that led to the development of the KIC model. It is not easy to explain, but Peter touched upon the most fundamental issues and components. If I may supplement and build on what you said, imagine a triangle. You have research institutions, you have universities, education institutions, you have businesses, corporations. In Europe, we have them all, and they work in networks for decades now. And in some places, there is a tremendous return on investment in terms of time, commitment, and funding, public and private. But in many places, these are isolated examples of how this can be done. And there is much more room for improvement if European capacity is being brought together, reshuffled, re-engineered, reorganized, business-oriented, to create more growth, jobs, invest more in people. So the question then is, why the triangle that is there in Europe, in so many places, why doesn't it really work as well as it could? Mm-hmm. And we believe that there is a missing link in the triangle, that there is something that should be inserted. And there are many attempts what to do, and there are many strategies. We said that this is entrepreneurship. So a KIC is a knowledge triangle, but driven, supplemented, glued, integrated with entrepreneurship. And I guess that the next question will be, what is entrepreneurship in the knowledge triangle?
Well, so we're talking about startup companies from the KICs. We're talking about products, services, education. The actual activities of the KICs can be a very wide range of things, correct?
That's correct. We can look at an entrepreneurship as a glue of the knowledge triangle in two dimensions. One is operational. And this means that actually activities are interlinked structurally. If I can give an example, let's say that students, curricula for teaching students is co-designed with industry based on their need to develop, to face particular challenge, to develop particular solution. It is being done now, but what industry partners appreciate is that they are in the process much earlier and to a much more strategic level and to a much more content delivery level. But then the students go to the industry and suddenly it turns out that the idea developed could be, actually does not really fit in the core portfolio of the IP of a company, but it is some potential for spinning it off. So then the KIC can deliver a mechanism to help the students incubate the idea and turn it with the industry partner support into a business.
Okay. So, all right, so that's what a KIC is and what it does. But what's from the point of view of the governing board, or what is a successful KIC? How does one be that? What do you regard as the attributes of a KIC that's most important to think about?
That's clearly to deliver on the anticipated impact that should be coming out of the KIC, and which the partnership has a strategic goal set to arrive at.
What do you mean by impact? What's that mean?
Impact is very many things, of course. It's along the classical success parameters, like we saw that examples on the screen before, number of new curriculums, number of new candidates being trained in the right environment. It's a number of new technologies that are sort of transferred into business practice. It's a number of patents, etc. But it's certainly also the associated social impact in terms of job and growth and welfare.
So this isn't about some, you get the grant and you do a paper and you have dissemination.
No, I think that's a crucial question, because EIT is not about funding partnerships. It's about investing in impact. An impact that has been to be driven by better and more human capital, as was addressed by the Commissioner earlier. That's the key.
Let me give you an example. Yeah. And I'll use a real-life example of one of the KIC CEOs, Diego Pavia from KIC InnoEnergy. He says, well, when we're at full speed, we will educate 5% of European engineers in energy sector. Well, 5%, is it much? Well, it's already impressive to measure this, but he says these people will be game changers. This will be the people who will get to the top of the corporations. This will be the entrepreneurs who will be dedicated to think creatively, to take a risk, to take an entrepreneurial career path. So the KIC impact, it's about people. It's about the next generation of entrepreneurial Europeans who dare to take what we have and to want to create opportunities for their own. EIT is about people.
Okay, all right. And Peter, you mentioned earlier that when you were defining the KIC, you defined it. Your first word was partnership. So, what makes a successful? What's a good partnership for a KIC?
I think that the most important thing about the partnership is to say that the partnership has to be driven by a fascination on delivering an impact, and then the partnership has also to reflect that. Being able to that, you need a set of strategic goals. And in order to obtain your strategic goals, you need a number of activities, and you need key partners, selected key partners to do that. And those selected key partners are those that can and will. So that's, for me, the success of a partnership, to sort of, that the partnership reflects the expected impact.
And what kind of partners are we talking about?
We're talking about partners all across the knowledge triangle. We're talking about universities and higher education institutions. Okay. We're talking about companies in a wide concept. It's
big,
large companies, and minor-sized companies, and SMVs, and single entrepreneurs, which is equally important. And then, of course, it's also some of the innovation, let's say, machines that are already existing in Europe, like incubators and things like that. They could be part of
what about government? What's the role of government in this?
Government's role is primarily to ensure the support to those that want to build a KIC, and also to ensure that there are not too many stumble stones on the way when you, for example, have to create your legal entity and your framework partnership or on legal grounds. And also the governance, or the government has the key role to facilitate the life of a KIC. It should probably not participate as such as a partner.
Okay, all right, and well, this all sounds rather complicated. So there's some kind of a strategy for it or plan? Sorry, Daria, go ahead. Yeah.
You know, if you think of a KIC as a business, things get into a puzzle. It gets much simpler to understand. And when you look at the selection criteria, they're drafted with a very careful balance to show that a KIC is not a network. A KIC is a legally and financially structured partnership that is to become financially sustainable over a long-term but foreseeable time. It needs to have a business case, so it needs to understand the competitive landscape, what other partners operating in the same field do at least as good, where's the market niche, so that a KIC can deliver solutions. And then, when there's a business case, there should be a business model. How to generate revenue, how to generate cash. And each of the business models can be different. It depends on a thematic area, depends on industry partners' interest, on university partner interest and capacity. But there needs to be an idea behind it, a business idea and a strategy. Also, what is critical, it's a governance model.
Governance, yeah.
Not a single company can operate effectively, especially if there is a significant partnership, if there's not a decision-making process, quick and efficient. Entry, exit for partners, investment, hiring and firing of CEOs. You know, this is the governance that should be based on the best practices of private sector. And then it's implementation. Not to forget that the success really lies in the implementation. So we see that the current CEOs of the KICs implement a different culture and different operational model, but they are all relentlessly focused on results.
Okay, but you talked about the governance. I mean, what is it? Is it a company? Is it a association?
We are not prescriptive as a board, as the EIT, telling the KICs what partnerships, what legal entity they should choose, because it's very contingent on a number of factors. But what we expect is that the legal entity chosen is suitable for the partners, for the strategy of a KIC, for its effective decision-making process. So when we look at the existing KICs, one is a Societa Europea, one is an association under Dutch law, and the other under Belgian law. I think that, you know, if KIC applicants are interested, I believe that there is some learning to be done and some learning curve that the KICs went through to understand. For example, the question of a venture fund. A KIC will have significant money, and if they want to support the ventures being incubated in their network, can they invest? What would be the legal entity allowing the KIC to become an investor? Yeah. A very particular question.
Peter.
Coming back to that structural basis, I think it's very important also that it has to sort of reflect the diversity among the partnership, because the diversity is one of the driving factors. And that means you need a governance model that sort of makes room for that diversity. Because in the end, a KIC management or governance is a balance. It's a balance between the necessary compliance to regulations that are needed and the other part of the KIC being experimental. We need the flexibility also reflected in the legal model to allow for some experimentation to take place. And I think that's a great thing about working on a governing board here, to see how the different KICs we have already, how they move in different directions. So that will be a real interesting part in a few years' time in this, let's say, consolidation effect, to start finding out what kind of coming out of these experiments works best. So what's best practice?
So given all of these factors, it sounds like a successful KIC, the management team is very important.
Critical. And also the strategic involvement of the top leaders of the KIC partners. And I think that this is to be stressed, because a KIC should not be one of the projects in the portfolio. It should be a project that is experimental for a company or for a university. It should be a playground, a learning environment, a creative learning environment where a university can experiment with establishing new models of collaboration with industry partners. And industry partners can see how to work with maybe their competitors in other markets, but operating within the same areas. So it's really an open innovation environment. But for this to happen, you know, the EIT KICs, the KICs need to be at the spotlight of the top leaders. It can be a chief innovation officer, it can be a president of a company who's particularly fond of open innovation, it can be a president of a university.
So this means that we're talking about some of these are big companies, and then we're talking about then the KIC has to be part of has to be strategically important to the company.
Exactly. It needs to be it needs to be a part of the core innovation strategy of a corporation or of a university that wants to build its future on a concept of an entrepreneurial university. So it is not attractive a project if this is not a strategic goal for a partner. If I may stop so. It's an experiment. And EIT and the KICs should be viewed as a way to learn, to experiment how to establish new models of collaboration in a networked environment, network economy, network society.
Okay, but another aspect of this is the sustainability of the KIC. I mean, financially. It's a 7-year to begin with. Does this go on forever? Does it stop after 7 years? What does it mean when the board talks about sustainability?
I take the difficult question.
Yeah, okay.
It's very simple. EIT identity is that we talk of ourselves as an impact investor. It implies that KICs are a portfolio of KICs. It means that as a venture fund has a portfolio of companies, some of them will do very good, 1 out of 10, excellent. Some will do okay, and some will not deliver, and this is fine. I hope that with the KICs, that will be a learning curve and a big commitment and support from the board to help through difficult times, and as we have demonstrated over the last 3 years. But this is to say that a KIC may fail.
It may fail.
It may. And to this end, we have established a model which we experiment with, which is called competitive funding. So we have part of the funding that is being a flat rate for all the KICs at their stage of development to support the core activities long term. Europe's advantage is that we invest in long term in innovation. It's beyond the election campaigns and changing. This is Europe's core strength, and we want to build on this. But there's also a component of competition for money. So we have a portion of our grants, yearly annual grants given to the KICs, that are based on assessment of past performance, long-term vision, and ability to deliver short-term.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So let's rise up for a moment above the detail of the KIC. How does it fit into the bigger picture? What is the KIC supposed to contribute in some way to the whole EIT concept?
The success of an EIT, of course, lies in the KIC. But the success of the EIT also lies in the interconnectivity between the KICs and the EIT in all the things we're doing. Mm-hmm. That means a part of that is also doing the right outreach, because we are creating these KICs as sort of dense consortia really focused on delivering on their business model. But we also have to make sure that a KIC or the KICs and the new KICs, they are also open and a little bit risk-willing to include new talents, young talents, not necessarily being bred in their own structure. So outreach is also about things going in and going out, because outreach is about dissemination of results, etc., but also the idea of attracting talents from wherever they are in Europe. So KIC and thereby EIT will be successive in the way we can attract talents, especially young talents, and also talents that may be different in their way of thinking. And also taking the entrepreneurship dimension, let's say the incubator function in the KIC, the proof sort of lies in the pudding. Because the more we can attract people with ideas, entrepreneurs coming from the outside, using our KIC machine to deliver, that's the success factor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you used a critical word, and this is, if I may pick up where Madam Commissioner ended her speech on diversity and outreach. EIT is an instrument for Europe to become more competitive globally. It is not a cohesion instrument. It is about Europe global competitiveness, capacity to compete. It's a growth instrument, growth and jobs, growth and development. And we should realize that Europe has been operating on the partnerships, excellent partnerships, that have been delivering, that have a long track record of collaboration. And we believe that something else needs to be done. We do not want business as usual. We do not want only the established incumbent partnerships to apply. We want people to think differently. We want novel partnerships. We want diversity because we believe that diversity brings disruption, and disruption brings novel creative ideas. So I believe that there may be different models how the outreach can be organized, how the new partners can be included into the KICs. And we can witness how this is being experimented with climate KIC, energy, EIT, ICT labs. We're not prescriptive how to do it, but we expect the KICs, we expect the proposals to have a very strong thought how to leverage the capacity. And in a networked environment, quite often, innovation comes from a periphery of network. Resources get accumulated in the nodes, resources, talent, knowledge, capital, but the disruption, the innovation, the true novelty comes from the peripheries quite often. It is important that KICs have an understanding how to build on Europe's diversity. And in Silicon Valley, vast majority of companies is being run and managed and owned by immigrants. Let's look at Europe, you know, if we can leverage our national diversities, if we can move people, if we can give them opportunity to become operational in a different environment. What Peter said, this is about having new blood, new DNA in the established structures.
Okay, Peter?
and an important dimension of that, let's say, success through outreach is, of course, the EIT identity. Because when you want really to do outreach, you need to be recognized, you need to have a brand, you need to be identifiable. So there we have identity, creation of identity at the KIC level through all their activities, partnerships and impact, but certainly also at the EIT level.
So that they're recognizably part of the EIT family.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see. All right, okay. Well, this is a lot for people to take on board. Perhaps we should ask for a show of hands again to see if you're still planning to make application. We will later today. But if I could, we're going to take questions in just a moment, but before we do that, let's just get one more piece of information out on the table, and that's the whole process by which these new KICs become KICs. For that, I'd like to introduce José Manuel Leceta, the director of the EIT. Please, José Manuel.
Thank you very much for being there, first of all, and allow me to join previous speakers, also the Commissioner and our dear Chairman, to say it's all about people. People-driven innovation. And when I look at the room, I see a lot of willingness. And you were raising your hands. I remember a Greek philosopher who said, the one who has the willingness has the power. So thanks again for joining, because this is really a coalition of the willing. So something would happen, I'm sure. My role should be simple, to guide you through the more practical issues, obviously building very much upon expectations, the political expectations, the strategic vision, and then the learning by doing, which was nicely presented by board members. Therefore, the presentation would be centered on three topics. First of all, the themes. Secondly, some highlights, maybe some words about the criteria, and then last but not least, how the process would be conducted. And obviously we can go into a debate mode later on. First, about the themes. Remember, and I would like to be a bit provocative here, that these themes are the result of a sovereign decision. It represents the expectations of society. Why? Because it doesn't result as a top-down decision. It's very much the opposite, bottom-up. Stakeholders have been consulted, Parliament, the Council, Member States, citizens have been in the loop. So in a way, if you want, these two themes, which are the first of a series, as you have heard in Increasing Our Portfolio, represents the expectations of citizens and governments. So very much reflecting, again, a sovereign decision, if you so wish. Most importantly, remember the themes are defined very broadly, because the key is how the proponents, the consortia, the partnership would look at this and choose the angle they want for this co-creation. Don't expect from us, topics. Don't expect from us prescription. This is not an R&D logic or an input logic. You have to take your own creativity into focusing in these challenges and extract what these challenges could mean in terms of solutions. So it's an output, it's an impact logic which you have to apply. So again, there is a bit of a mindset change here. The fact sheets are very much what you can share, what we have shared with you with the call, and that's very much the framework that it's applicable. The two themes are very well known to you, healthy living and anti-aging, and raw materials. Connected to this, I think the EIT, and obviously the board was very insistent, has made, tried to make life easier for you in a number of ways by getting this learning from the three KICs, also simplifying the criteria, making more time available. So I think that's all very obvious and I shouldn't spend too much time. The second part of the presentation, again, should be relatively simple, because you are all familiar with the selection criteria that were made public, in fact, 2 months in advance of the publication of the call. So a great effort, again, to facilitate your life. And obviously, it has been discussed already substantively, which is the preceding speakers, Peter and Daria. The selection criteria are very simple, are straightforward, streamlined in 3 pillars. First, strategy, second, operations, and third, impact. The overarching principle is impact, as it has been said, but when it comes to criteria, the 3 pillars are equally important. And you have the weight that has been attributed to the 3 pillars. What I could do is maybe spend some minutes, or a couple of minutes, or so, maybe a bit longer, into getting through the 3 pillars and maybe recall some highlights, some keywords. First of all, regarding the strategy pillar, it is about the relevance. You have to think how the KIC model is relevant for the proposal you are making and substantiate that, how the KIC model applies to the specific context of the thematic on which you are interested. And then obviously you will have to link to that strategic goals that later would be developed into the operations concerning the measurements, also for the impact, etc. So added value, innovativeness and synergies, another block of the pillar strategy, concerns obviously the market positioning. Again, the ambition is global. We are talking about collaboration in Europe, but with our global ambition. So the market obviously is also global. You have to reflect that. Synergies and complementarities are also important in that context. Of course, synergies are not purposes in themselves. Quite the opposite. Synergies have to serve a purpose. This is very important, and it has been stressed. It is a bottom-up. It is a bottom-up approach. So the synergies are very much what the KIC should put together, making sense out of, by the way, not only thematic synergies, but also transversal synergies. Still in this pillar, KIC partnership means the combined strength. So obviously the KIC, as it is an integrated partnership, should mean more than the sum of the partners. The partnership should be stronger than the individual strengths of the partners. It should be diverse, as it has been stressed. It has to be balanced. So these are also keywords that maybe I could mean something for you today. The second pillar is the operations, equally important concerning governance. A lot has been said already. The governance model, it's very unique because it follows indeed business logic. It has to associate the top management of the partners, and the legal entity, the choice of the legal entity is left to the KICs, which is a great flexibility. It's an area certainly for experimentation. Obviously, liberty with responsibility, because in your proposal, while the choice of the legal entity is left, you would have to be also conscious that obviously this has long-ranging implications, not only for the setup of the KIC, but also for its future operation. So the choice is very decisive, but it's left to the KIC, which is again a big choice that you should, and you will, I'm sure, take advantage of. Still in this pillar, leadership and operations concern the team profiles. This is very key. One person would not make it. This is very clear. One partner would not make it. So the board has been very wise into requesting profiles of the team players, the management team, team players, the top executive power that would make the KIC a reality and roll the strategy down. It has to also reflect this connectivity of the collocation centers, because these are indeed not isolated incubation centers. They have to work across borders for education, for entrepreneurship, accelerating business, and also to take up markets from big partners. So this interconnectivity is very important also in that part of the proposal. Last but not least, still in the second pillar, the KIC model and the financial plan concerns obviously the feasibility, because in the end the KIC has to be feasible, and you have to prove that. It should be able to achieve return on investment, on financial sustainability over a given period of time, and for that, in particular, the management of an exploitation of intellectual property rights is a very important piece of work. You have to set up, as part of your proposal, a motivating policy for the management of IP, and there should be, as it is the case with the existing 3 KICs, an IP board that would be not only set up at the beginning, but roll this out, because there will always be a need to tailor this management to the specificities of the different opportunities and market environments. Now moving to the third pillar concerning impact and competitiveness, we talk about certainly human capital, job creation potential, and economic growth. So these are, if you want, key words in that context. This obviously has to be put together so that it is optimally combined. And you will have to provide also output and KIC scoreboard indicators. We have already core KPIs at the EIT level, but obviously the KICs, as they are thematic specific, they have also to establish their own KIC scoreboard. So in a way, they're core KPIs, if you want, which applies across the 3 KICs today, the future KICs, but obviously there is room also for establishing your own ambitions, and this reflects nicely the fact that obviously the EIT is not about control, it's about facilitating, and we provide the seed money, 25%, the 75% again has to do a lot with the partners, and therefore they have to be given also freedom in that regard. To conclude on this pillar, communication, outreach, dissemination was already evoked. Communication means indeed making an identity, so that people would associate themselves with the EIT, vice versa. In future, somebody mentioning, I was part of the EIT, would mean something in terms of attracting investment. So this is very key, not only through the current 3 KICs, but to the future, I mean, the whole operation. But indeed, as the Commissioner also stressed, the EIT is an institute for Europe. So outreach and dissemination are also very important in that context. Dissemination means one way of communication so that good practices are exchanged. Outreach means, as nobody has the monopoly of talent, to reach out to the persons and the partners that could contribute the most to the added value. Remember, it's an an impact logic. So as the KICs are judged on results, it makes all the sense that wherever the talent is, gets part of the partnership. And this is certainly what the current KICs are doing, and I think you should be considering. Now moving to the third and last part of the presentation about the process, an effort also has been made here to make things easier. And the process is established into 3 steps. Basically, the first step is about eligibility on the applicants and the proposals. I could not go into the details because you have the details in the call text. The second step is maybe worth spending some more time here, which is composed of two sub-steps, if you want. On the one hand, a panel of external independent experts whose role would be to evaluate and rank the proposals against these criteria we have been discussing, and then the final recommendation panel that would put the three highest ranked proposals to the board with recommendations. Because in this facilitating role, our role is not to say, hey, here's the winner. Our role, and this is embedded in even in the selection process, is to seek where improvements of these three highest ranked proposals could even further be improved, so that the board, in its wisdom, would select, and this is the final stage, the best KIC and providing eventually guidance for the setting up, so that, as it has been stressed, the KIC success is the EIT success. So at that stage, obviously, we would enter into another mode. Now, I'd like to go a bit more detail, and with this I would be concluding, about these two sub-steps. On the one hand, the panel of independent experts, again, they would rank the proposals, evaluate them against the criteria we have been talking about. The composition of this panel is also very clear. On the one hand, you have 5 thematic experts in this domain, in the domain of the KICs, and the 3 experts would be obviously about the 3 sides of the knowledge triangle. And there would be another 2 experts which are more providing horizontal expertise connected to the business creation, entrepreneurship, which is a core value of the EIT, and secondly, the governance and partnership and management, which is also a very core for the business logic of the KIC. So again, 5 experts, 3 thematic, 2 horizontal. And they would rank the proposals. By the way, these experts would be selected by the EIT to avoid conflict of interests. And then we would enter into the second sub-step, which is this recommendation panel. At that point, we would have ranked the proposals. This panel would take the 3 highest ranked proposals and would analyze, on the one hand, strengths and weaknesses, and also areas of improvement, so that the board would also consider this in its wisdom to come up with the best possible KIC for each area. This panel would be composed of 3 high-level and renowned experts, plus a rapporteur that would secure objectivity, impartiality, and transparency of the process. Obviously, this second step, or sub-step, if you want, it is about a holistic, the integration of the whole thing. While the experts, the independent experts, would look at the different criteria, the role of these experts is to really look holistically at the whole integrated approach of the KIC. And with this, I would be concluding by obviously talking about the last stage, which is the hearing, because as entrepreneurs, we have to take these elevation pitches, and this would be also the case for the best applicants. The 3 high-ranked proposals would come to this elevation pitch with the EIT governing board, and the date is set for the 9th of December. The board would consider in its assessment, in its decision, the 3 elements I just described: the reports of the external independent experts, the panel recommendation report, and the hearing itself. And with this, they would come to a decision immediately after that hearing. I'd like to conclude by encouraging you and maybe repeat somebody in the panel today. Beliefs create reality. And I think the most important thing you will not find in words is be and believe in yourselves. Because there is a lot of learning by doing, and everyone has to find its journey. You will not find a recipe for being a director of the EIT or a board member or a KIC. You will have to make it, but it is very important that you bring the creativity and also the determination. For that, again, every one of us is a unique person, so be and believe in yourselves. That's maybe a good piece of advice I can give you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now, we're coming to questions. And I should add, by the way, that after the coffee break, we will go into a deeper level of detail, talking about the financing, the monitoring process, the startup phase, and some other things. So there will be many opportunities in the course of the day to get more information about this. But just to begin with, first, Caroline van den Plas is there ready to take tweets from those of you out. This event is being streamed live right now, so those of you who are out there watching this, the hashtag on Twitter for this is KIC Call, that's K-I-C, C-A-L-L. And in addition, many of you, when you registered, put in questions. And then there's live questions you might have. So, but let's just begin very quickly. José Manuel, I'm sorry, I have a question. The themes. Well, yeah, only one.
To start with.
The themes, the healthy, it's broad. I mean, it's hugely broad. If I'm applying, where do I shoot? Does that mean broad, narrow? What?
Yeah, this is a very, let me be very profound and very sincere. Because again, you will not find, details to the extent that you are, and participants are used in framework program, topics, or because this is a deliberate choice. These challenges are given as frameworks against which you should provide elements of solutions. So you have to change the mindset here. The KICs are novel innovation policy delivery mechanisms. So in a way, again, it is not about, okay, what is expected from me in terms of research. No, it is what the KICs could do about this challenge in terms of producing societal, responses. So don't look into that into many details. It is obviously about the proponents to choose the angle, because the themes are indeed very broad, but this is deliberate so that you can experiment, you can exploit this flexibility. Because, typically in other programs it's the other way around.
Yeah.
People complain, well, there are so many constraints here, red tape. This is precisely what we don't have here. So please use it. Use this flexibility, experiment with it. And obviously, choices also, of course, makes, a strategy. It means a strategy in making a choice.
Okay, all right. Another question that I had when listening to this was this is a pan-European program. You mentioned collocation centers. I mean, well, let me ask you, Daria. I mean, you're from Poland. So does that mean that if I'm applying, I have to have a Polish partner involved? I mean, what is the logic by which I decide where I'm going to have my partners?
Richard, of course, yes. If there's the relevant innovation capacity and partners that you need to complement other KIC partners in a endeavor that should be based on a strategy and a business model, and believe that when the EIT funding is withdrawn, the KIC will be able to operate. So yes, if it is there, if it is in a different part of Europe as well. We have limited number of collocation centers to 6 because we believe that the network...
Maximum of 6 collocation
maximum
centers.
of 6. In
okay.
the call we say 4 to 6 because we believe that the KIC partnership should be integrated. And this is for very basic reasons. We want them to be effectively managed. It is complex enough. So this is why there is an expansion strategy that a KIC may have to develop another node. So let's say that it starts with 4 or 5, as we see the evidence from the existing KICs, and then it opens another node. So there can be a learning by doing that the partnership may expand. But definitely, it should be business-like mentality. I go where the talent is, where the capacities are, and I see how I can look into the local innovation ecosystem. When we look at the innovation ecosystem globally, it is a network of networks, and there are hubs, established mega nodes of global innovation web, and there are emerging hubs where people cluster, where networks overlap, when they're overlayering mechanisms, when there are synergies because of this. So definitely a collocation should be part of a vibrant vibrant, I stress this, a vibrant innovation ecosystem, when there is political will and when there is enthusiasm of people to get things in a different way. So 4 to 6 collocation nodes, and when we look at the structure of the existing KICs, they are looking for ways to expand, and this can be done in different ways. For example, the climate KIC has a parallel structure of regional implementation centers. It's a different role than a collocation center. It's a test bed to implement what is being developed in the KIC. So it is a very smart way to enlarge the network, to get beyond the governance. The core partners, it should be efficient in terms of governance and management. And then the project level should be highly expanded, very open, very flexible, truly an open innovation ecosystem. And we see today that many things happen in the web. So you have the decisions being made in a node, but then innovation takes place in virtual reality as well. So this all should be built on a model of a networked environment, but very efficient in terms of orchestration of network making power. It should be integrated, open and integrated.
Okay, all right. I think we'll come back to these issues and questions and comments from the floor. But at this point, here, let's just start here. There are microphones, I believe. Yes. Yes. You were fast off the mark. Please identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Stuart Anderson from University of Edinburgh. This is a question primarily for Peter, I think. So Alex talked about US company creation, but I think the flip side of that is company destruction. And in particular, Peter mentioned the government as a supporter, but does he think that the government as a disinvestor is an important thing? And maybe in Europe, because we don't have our Kodaks or Lehmans or Detroits, then this is an important aspect in terms of the dynamism of our economy. And so, particularly in areas where the public sector has a significant spend, does he think the KICs should really be pressing in terms of policy change and the role of government as a disinvestor?
Role of disinvestor, primarily I don't like it. But I think the crucial thing is that if we look at investment in innovation and entrepreneurship, that creates a lot of complexity and requires heavy investment along a value chain. If you don't have around it the framework conditions, the legal systems, the social structure, etc., that allows the taxation, whatever you have, that allows entrepreneurship to take place, I think that's the crucial thing about the governance role. The governance role has to ensure that we are not spending our investment in a way that is not coming to the end.
If I may add to this, today when you see global problems, complex problems, even at a local level, they can hardly ever be solved without the involvement of government. Climate solutions are a big example of this. So can we really think in this terms, investment, disinvestment?
Yes. Okay, yes.
I like to complement a little bit this, because, you know, when we talk about governments, we mix it up with public intervention. And I think the KICs, would have 3 entry points at least, because their universities, research centers, they are public. You know, all government can align support through promoting, capability building, and as they have been doing for a long time. Secondly, they remember also their other sources of support in this 75%. 75% doesn't mean co-funding, because the key word, as the Commissioner said, is catalysis. So, and this is a fact, you know, that €1, for instance, to give you an example, €1 invested by EIT today is leveraging de facto €3 from national and regional governments into aligned bottom-up through the KIC. There is no imposition top-down. And thirdly, and this is also a key word for governments, there is also a demand side for innovation. For instance, in climate, the KIC is also aligning with early adopters, municipalities, you know, which want to experiment, adopt innovation. So there is ample room. But again, it has to do with this creativity that we expect from the KICs and the proponents. By the way, and this is maybe another dimension to stress, the thematics are obviously different. and which also gives, again, a lot of room for you to really come up.
Just to comment on another dimension of the government issue, of course, the government has a kind of early role to play also in giving financial support to a KIC becoming a reality as part of the overall financing, but also the, let's say, the down the road harvesting aspect from a KIC running, delivering, because that will be very, very important best practice input to policy development and policy setting.
Okay. There is a question back there, and then we'll come over here. Yes, right there. Please identify yourself.
Andrew Soers, European Universities Alliance. In Horizon 2020 design was a very strong debate on the integration of social science and humanities into a societal challenges research. Now I know that the KICs are not research projects, but they are close to society. So what is the view of the EIT on how far social, economic, and, if you like, human sciences aspects should be integrated? Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
Basically, we run the EIT model and the KICs from the point of complementary skills that are needed across the knowledge triangle. And since we are aiming for real societal impact, I think the interdisciplinarity, the ability to attract researchers and actors from the social and humanities are very, very important.
Okay. Daria, did you want to add on that?
I wanted to say that a KIC concept is based on a market approach, and markets are society as well. So if consumers need a solution, definitely this is the integration with the grand challenges. But the EIT is about the last mile solution. Last mile solution. It's not about developing capacity, it's about implementation, experimentation with embedding new solutions. So it's very close to the markets. And let me stress one thing, young generation, or I believe that the society is changing so rapidly that many new things, the young generation looks at a different way at our world. And this is important that the KICs take into consideration the voice of society into what and how the challenges should be approached.
Okay, all right. There was a question right here. Machine is coming to you. Stay there. Oh, here we go. All right, fine. Yeah. Yes, we will.
My name is Holm Keller. I'm leading Leuphana University in Germany. My question is really around the observation that as a university leader, I know students learn more from their fellow students than they do from professors. So the question is if those who coordinate KIC applications in the moment could kindly show a hand so that we may have an opportunity to get together in the break. Would that work?
Are you forming a KIC right now?
Yes, we are. No, we are already in a process, but I'm sure there's other people here who coordinate. It would be very helpful to see.
I see the hand over there, right?
So there's only one, okay. Good.
That's entrepreneurial. That's very good. New partnerships. This is what this event is for.
But it's a little bit strange that nobody wants to put in an application. Okay. That's it? Sorry, thank you.
All right, okay. Question back there.
Yes, thank you. Magda Rosenmüller from José Business School in Barcelona. Impact is very important. We know from Horizon 2020 already that impact is important. My question would be, what is the priority in impact? We have understood entrepreneurship, the impact on social development, on creation, the KPIs, on creation of new enterprises. If we have particularly on the first new theme of the call of health, the societal impact is very important. So here we could use the triple aim of WHO of having better healthier people, having better satisfied patients or citizens, but also having more sustainable health systems. My question would be 5 years from now, if you evaluate the KIC, what would be more important in terms of the impact the KIC has on the society, on really creating or helping support creating more more sustainable health systems, or the part on both is important, but I would love to kind of get a sense of where in this particular case of health, if the societal challenge maybe has equally importance as the creation of new companies. Thank you.
I understand. Daria, you wanted to answer it.
I have spoken a lot about a KIC being a business-like, but we should also take into consideration that a KIC is a special animal in that it searches returns in economic terms as well as in social terms. I am not in a position to give you an indication because it should come from a strategic, creative brainstorming sessions among the partners. We are not there to tell you what to do. We are encouraging you to think bravely. And this is important because, you know, we don't know. Nobody knows. This knowledge is emergent. As you form partnerships, as you develop the strategy, there's no one model fits all, and there is no copy-paste or copycat we can do here. So I truly believe that it is important to take the societal impact into consideration. And it's not for being polite or correct or comply with expectations. I believe that the change, the upside, is where the society is. And if we hear what the consumers want, what the users want, this is where the model should be based on.
Okay, Peter.
Coming back to the impact dimension, I think this is very much about translating knowledge into sort of actions, but also ensuring that the actions are being implemented right down at the societal level. Take again, as you mentioned, the health and active aging area. It's so important that we are able to sort of translate the new knowledge about all the data-driven aspects of our phenotypes with our genotypes and implement that in practical clinical research and implement that in increasing the efficiency of the system, leading to both, let's say, getting more for the money, but also getting much higher patient benefit. That's, for me, is a good example of impact. And coming back to the question before about the social and humanities sciences, it's so important in the last step, the implementation of the developed solution. That creates the minds of those people.
Okay. Carolyn, is there a tweet? Is that working?
Yes, we've got one question that's come in from Luca Schäfer in Wageningen, who's wondering if the panel's got any recommendations on how young entrepreneurs can contribute and link to the proposal for a new KIC.
How young entrepreneurs can contribute to the proposal.
Yes.
The EIT is about entrepreneurship, and we have focused to identify some key talent coming out of KICs with the EIT Entrepreneurship Awards. I believe that the young people, students, should be part of the strategic making process early on, from the beginning. So instead of the university administrators and business administrators thinking of a strategy, you know, they should be part of the creative process. They should be the disruptive element. So this is the first idea that comes to my mind. You know, invite those students. I remember Jack Welch, a legendary president of GE, who came to London, and the director there says, "Oh, I have a mentor." And Jack says, "You have a mentor? You're a leader here." I say, "Yeah, I took the smartest young guy in my organization, and I asked him to mentor me, because I really do not really understand where the technology takes us to." So I believe that maybe it's an idea, you know, that the key people in forming the KIC should have a mentor, having a young person at a university to helping them understand what is going on, because it's them, they know. We are kind of guessing.
I guess the answer to the question, yes, they should.
Yes, they should.
Can I say something very much to echo what Daria said? Because even if we talk about this knowledge triangle integration, as we in Western world, we read from left to right, there is always this risk of looking at things linearly. And if you approach, we educate entrepreneurs, we educate students, some of the students might become entrepreneurs, some of these entrepreneurs might, be working for business. But indeed, I mean, we should look at this as a seamless web with, avoiding this linear bias. If entrepreneurs could be on the driving seat, from day one, I think, partnership would benefit greatly.
There was a question back here. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
My question is...
You are?
I'm Askar Zaidi from University of Southampton. My question is specifically on the KIC on healthy living and active aging. I hear lots of talk about companies being formed, entrepreneurship, but in this KIC, when I read carefully, it's about quality of life of older people, it's about financial sustainability of public welfare systems. I hear very little on how public policy making could be influenced by the KIC, especially at the local level, not just at the national level, but also at the provincial, local levels. So I wonder what the panel, whether the panel could add to some of the things that have already been discussed. How KIC would go about influence public policy making that would promote healthy lifestyle and active aging outcomes.
Peter.
My immediate response to that would be to sort of allude a little bit what José Manuel said before about the wide description of the KIC proposals, also the KIC thematic areas, because it's our wish to give way for, let's say, creativity in the partnerships to address these wide area in their way. That might be a broad way, or it might be a narrow way, but also to include aspects like this. So we would like to see that happen, but it's up to the KIC consortia to develop and sort of make a kind of idea. How can we do what you are looking for in terms of public policy setting, etc.?
Let me take it to a pragmatic level. If it has a business sense for a KIC, should be done. If not, a KIC is not an instrument to alter public policy. EIC ICT Labs works on standardization because this is linked to the business model of the whole industry. But if it is not part of the KIC model, I believe that KIC should focus on its core business.
Okay, thank you. Question over there.
Yeah, Karel van Akker, KU Leuven. I have a question about the partnership. EIT, of course, is a European initiative, but of course we are working in a global market. So how are you looking towards partnerships with companies of other parts of the world? And could we, for example, grow to a worldwide initiative, but led by European-based institutes and companies?
Yeah, this is rather straightforward because it has been made clear that you can indeed associate partners. They can take part from non-European countries, but this has a limit. It cannot be more than 1/3 of the partnership. Secondly, you have to make a distinction between the participation and access to funding. Because now the EIT is embedded in Horizon 2020, so all the rules of participation apply to the EIT. In other words, those countries that have an associated agreement for Horizon 2020 will not only participate, but could also access funding. The rest, can take part, but unfortunately you have to bring, or fortunately, because, we talk about commitment, they would have to bring their own resources. Most importantly, I like again to stress what has been said here to my left. It has to make sense. It has to make sense. Because if you just put it to impress, maybe you are not making yourself a favor. It has to be, it has to make sense for the KIC model and the sustainability and the added value the partnership altogether would bring to the table.
Can I have a Chinese collocation center?
Again, we have already one collocation center, which is not within the member states of the European Union, and it's Switzerland. But obviously, again, there are limits to that, because obviously our funding comes to make the betterment for Europe, and that's why you see this 1/3 as maximum for the partners.
All right. Yes, question right here.
Good morning. My name is Eduardo Beltrán from Mondragon Corporation, and that question is for José Manuel Leceta. That is a more operational question. So we are building the KIC in manufacturing, and really we have a big discussion about if the collocation has to be specialized by any kind of maybe technologies, more sectors. So the question is important specialization by itself between collocation, or maybe you are more expecting impact? That means different collocation could do the same, I would say, but in a complementary way, focusing at the same sector, the same targets. So which is your vision? Because that is a lot of controversy in the consortium.
But again, it's a very straightforward answer, because this is not an EIT level decision. It is a KIC level decision. And you will have to look at this in the perspective of what's best for your partnership. It's like, you know, the discussion we had about the themes. To me, I don't find it relevant any longer, you know, discussion about themes, because it's set, you know, and this is all what you can expect. The Parliament Council decided, the EIC took this as a background, and the same you should do at your level. I mean, if you're discussing, which I think, you know, makes sense, you have to wait, as you know, because these are not the themes that are in the target for the call, but it is a KIC level decision. Don't expect, you know, from us to tell you. Obviously, on the more constructive side, if you want, there is this learning from the 3 KICs, and you can see practices emerging there from the KIC, energy, ICT labs, and climate KIC. They have adopted different patterns. Whether this can illuminate the sector on which you are working is again an issue for the partnership to reflect what is best, what would put you in a best position to generate value and to eventually, obviously, win also the competition when it would be open, by the way, in a couple of years from now.
Okay. There was a question right in the back.
My name is Attila Kondec. I'm from Hungary, and I'm an entrepreneur. I think innovation comes from individuals. First, the idea is born in someone's head. And I'd like to ask you how a very entrepreneurial person could join this process. How do you envision that someone, say, who has a day job and a great idea in, say, geothermal energy extraction should go about and participate in this process? Thank you.
If it's geothermal, then probably the right entry point would be the KIC Energy Innovation Highway. It is a incubator, pan-European incubator focused on energy sector, where you can enter with your business concept, and if accepted, it's a competitive process. You are welcome to an environment where you will be nurtured and you will be guaranteed your first customer. This is the business model of KIC Energy in return for a stake in your company. So this is how they operate. They're very efficient, business-oriented. You come with an idea or with a business, we get you more customers because they are in our partnership network. And we link together, we agree on IP, we agree on partnership terms of reference, regulations, and then we develop your company further to the pan-European scale or global.
Okay. We'll take a few more questions and then go to coffee and then come back. But there was a question right here. Yes.
Name is Ferenci, Intellifactory, an SME here in Budapest. But my question relates to all 2 KICs, but in the future, but specifically the healthy living KIC. Since the topic is so vast, and who decides what will fit into there? And then those expert evaluators will be comparing apples and oranges. I mean, who decides what kind of weight do you put on a certain topic? Because healthy living is sport. So one proposal says, let's build football stadiums like our government loves to do. The other believes that genetic research and biotechnology in general is a major contributor to, well, healthy living and also staying alive for older age. So who decides? Obviously the competitors who form the consortia, they in their own wisdom will decide, but at the next level, if they pick absurd topics and won't let in somebody from an area which he thinks is important. So that's my question, you know, apples and oranges.
I believe Europe should build on its innovation and technology capacity. So surely it should be embedded in where the Europe's strengths are and the capacities of partners are. It should be built on the synergies, like integrating value chain to deliver a more complex solution. It should be based on a business case, because not all challenges or issues within the theme lead to the goals that a KIC has. KIC is to develop people, businesses, and innovation projects for industry partners. So, and it needs to be itself an organization that can support itself in the long term. So not all activities cater to these goals. Now, who will decide? The market will decide. Because the proposals that will come in should be based on a competitive analysis of where the combined strengths of partners are, and how this last mile solution, so getting from where it's almost at the market, getting it to the market and to the society is.
Okay, Peter?
In the case of a very broadly defined KIC thematic area, like the health and healthy living, it lies in the cards, so to say, that there is room for different, let's say, sectorial or idea approach across that way. But when we sit in the situation that we get 3 different proposals, or 5 or whatever we get, that addresses different sector of that wide range, it's not the choice of sector that is really determinant. It's the partnership that is created, the business case that they want to develop, the business plan that they are proposing, and also their ideas on the multi-annual running towards self-sustainability. That's the criteria for selecting. So it's not the subtopic itself, it's the way it's thought together.
Okay, thank you. There were 2 ladies in the back there. Yes, right. Are you forming a question partnership here, or a KIC? Okay, all right. Yeah. 2 hands work better than 1, apparently. All right.
Well, my name is Helena Pereira, and I am coming from the University of Lisbon, Portugal. But in fact, it is not important, my university, in this subject, but more that we have built already, let's say, a proto-consortium for a collocation center in the field of the raw materials. And my question comes to this thematic of raw materials, which is very broad, in fact. And the images you have published when you refer to the raw materials area are all of them related to extraction of minerals and mineral raw materials. So we called our proto-consortium InForest, and we are in the bio-based, forest-based area, which we think has a tremendous potential of innovation and job creation and opportunities. So, and we wanted to build a collocation center within, of course, a broader consortium, a broader KIC. So my question is that possible, even if the other partners are more related to, let's say, non-bio-based raw materials, and how can we sort of establish a platform now with these other partners? So I guess what your answer will be. So my question is to the audience: is anyone wanting us, so a bio-based, forest-based collocation center?
Well done. I think that would. That was an elevator pitch. And if the answer is yes, you're going to stand over there, right? And you okay. All right, okay, thank you. There's a question right here. We'll take one more after that. Yeah, okay then.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Hervé Le Guyader, coming from Aquitaine in France, and I have a question that's actually addressed to the maybe the chairman of the board. It's not KIC related, although I'm here for the healthy living and active aging KIC, but many times you on the panel mentioned that EIT was an investor, an impact investor, and every investor has a plan. I mean, there is some return on investment in mind. So I was just wondering what your return on investment was based on, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. Okay.
It is an investment in that we seed and we expect the partners to complement the money up to 75%. So this is, I think, the first, I would say, concrete goal to be reached in what our investments, so kind of a quadruple-fold the input which comes from the EIT. The second is that the spin-offs of business ideas really create measurable value, so that even somebody from McKinsey would say in the end, I can somehow measure it, okay? The third value, which is very concretely measured, is it creates hopefully a ping-pong effect of interconnecting people, where it really creates again new activities, which in the end are economical values. The most difficult part to value and to measure is of course also the educational part. I mean, the educational part is a long-term investment, and I think we have to wait over the years in creating students who, besides of their practical, technical, medical knowledge, also have, so to say, the knowledge to build businesses, whether this is really leading to a next generation Europe in innovation, which creates further businesses and mind changes in big corporations, of course. But if you ask me, it is not abstract. I think you can concretize this. And I guess also just one short brief correction on if you build up a biotech company, and as you know, it's a long-term business, and you make burn rates for sometimes 10, 12, 15 years before you become profitable, and I think it takes often 6, 7 years before you have your first revenues. Still, in the books of such a company, you write in values, and they are not virtual. For example, the combined value of the US biotech industry is $300 billion, okay? And it's not just that this is somewhere in the books. Day for day you see that biotech companies are acquired by big companies. For example, they're really willing to so to say, pay for the value which is in the books. So I sometimes feel, and I know many of you come from the field of academia and research, and you say, oh, this is all very vague. You can measure it. And I guess it is not just that we say weekly investment. We say that there must be concrete results where a bookkeeper, a modern bookkeeper who puts also value on innovation, says the path to this stage, 300 million euros the EIT has been invested, has been really led to, and the 2.7 billion we will invest in the next years will lead to. Okay? I hope it was an answer.
Thank you. Last question before coffee. Sorry, we're just behind you. Yeah.
Barbara Sani, Trento Rise, Italy. I have a question about the evaluation process. I would like to have more details about, especially for the second step, and the selection of the expert. Because I would like to know if they should come from only from business field or also from research field and education. Thank you.
Thank you for putting the question, which provides an opportunity to elaborate on the presentation. On the first sub-step, you remember this panel of independent experts. I mentioned there would be 5. And 3 would cover the 3 sides of the knowledge triangle: education and human capital development, 1; research and innovation, 2nd; 3rd, business analysis and venture capital. And then the 2 horizontal experts to be added would concern business creation, entrepreneurship, again a core value of the EIT and its KICs, governance, partnership, management. So this could compose the 5 the set of 5 experts, and then in the panel of recommendations we'll have these 3 high-level and renowned experts plus a rapporteur. As regards the selection, again the EIT would select this, for which we would establish a selection committee, which would provide for avoidance of conflict of interest. Using the established practice in Horizon 2020, requesting these declarations from the experts, even you are requested also to submit a form whereby the proponents of the consortia will not commit not to contact the experts, etc. So I think the process altogether is very robust.
Okay, let's get a coffee. We're running, as you can tell from looking at the agenda, we're running 15 minutes over. Let's come back here, let's gain 5 minutes on that. Let's come back here at 5 minutes to the hour, okay? 5 minutes before the hour. And there, at that point, the EIT staff will be going into more discussion of financing, monitoring, startup phase, and the law. Thank you.